Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Ethan Rosen, Associate Director of PredictIt, the stock market of politics. And we're going to take a look at what traders are pricing in for elections in New York. And we'll, of course, talk about Florida. Certainly no shortage of items to talk about in that state. Ethan, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me.
And let's start with our first race here, a special House election for the Hudson Valley in New York. Explain to us why it's special and what PredictIt traders are thinking.
Yeah, so this is an election where Antonio Delgado, who is a Democratic member of Congress, resigned from the seat in order to become Lieutenant Governor of New York. Now they're holding a special election to replace him until January. So I would point out a couple of things initially. Whoever wins this race will only hold the seat for about 4 months, and the seat will not exist in its current form because of redistricting in the elections that take place in November. So why are people watching this then for a 4-month-long vacancy? It's because this is a swing seat. This is a seat that is on partisan lean, close to 50-50, maybe a very slight Republican lean. So people are watching this very closely to see if there are any clues that they could take away for the November elections.
And Ethan, if we move to the lower west side of New York City, apparently this race is a blow to the progressive movement there.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because this is a seat where there is a fairly progressive constituency. This is the lower west side of Manhattan, New York City. But the vote, so many people jumped into this race. You might remember Bill de Blasio was in at one point. Mondaire Jones, a current representative, is in. Carolina Rivera. A lot of people are running as progressives. And then you have Daniel Goldman, who's running. He's an attorney, one of the Trump impeachment attorneys. He's running as one of the few moderates in the race. And, you know, there's a good chance that the failure of progressives to consolidate around a single candidate, they had a lot of bites of the apple, but they have yet to consolidate. And there's a good chance that Daniel Goldman runs away with it with, 25 maybe percent of the vote, simply because the progressive vote is split so much. So if that happens, there are going to be recriminations in the progressive movement. This would be a big blow to them. This is a big missed opportunity.
And let's move down to Florida. Floridians go to the polls for some voting tomorrow.
So Florida is having their primaries tomorrow. It's expected that Charlie Crist, he is, by the way, a former Republican governor of Florida, is going to win the Democratic nomination to take on Ron DeSantis. PredictIt traders think he has about a 90% chance. But Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried, in a lot of ways, are running to see who's going to lose to Ron DeSantis, or at least that is what PredictIt traders think. Now, Democrats are spying a bit of an opportunity on both the gubernatorial side and the Senate side in Florida. Florida has been a white whale for Democrats for a number of years now. We've seen a lot of very close races there, most of which have gone to the GOP. But Democrats think, as we've seen elsewhere, that Republican overreach on cultural issues, particularly on abortion, but on some other things as well, combined with improving views of the economy, falling gas prices, could give Democrats an opening. PredictIt traders, though, I have to say, on both the gubernatorial side and the Senate side, are quite skeptical, and Republicans remain the heavy favorites.
Yeah, I have to say, for the chances of Ron DeSantis, out of all the polling that we've discussed, I think over the past 2 years at this point with Trade Talks and PredictIt, I think DeSantis with 91 cents is probably one of the highest that I've seen. The conviction seems to be really strong there.
Yeah, people really think that Florida is going to avoid, any good news for Democrats is not going to be felt in Florida. That's what PredictIt traders think.
Yeah.
And contrast that, if I could just say one thing, contrast that with New York 19, which we talked about at the very beginning of the segment, where, that is a race that Republicans were at that 90% favorite, and it's dropped because of good national news for Democrats. Florida has not experienced that same trend.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how these trends are going to play out over the next couple of months here. Ethan, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you for having me.